Hey there! So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to find the line that passes through two given points and to put it into slope-intercept form. Now, if you remember, with slope-intercept form, it's simply the idea of y equals mx plus b, where that m is talking about our slope. That's also known as rise over run. And then b is talking about our y-intercept. So where it is that this line is going to cross the y-axis. Okay, now if in the past you've done this process involving one point and line equation, whether it's parallel or perpendicular, awesome. Flows pretty well, very consistent, moves beautifully. When you have 2 points, it's actually just a slight difference. The slight difference is that you're going to be setting up the slope formula to find your m, to find your slope. And then from there, it's no different than what you've been doing, where you're going to use the actual slope-intercept form equation to find the value of b. Feeling a little bit in the midst of the summary? Let's go ahead and dive on in with this example, and I'll show you what I mean. So here we're told that a line passes through the points -2, -3, and 1, 9, or 1, -9. We need to write its equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so as I mentioned before, our first step when we're given 2 points is we need to find the slope. And the way that we go about finding the slope is using slope formula. So if you remember, with slope, you may have heard the rise over run idea. The other way that you'll see it in actual let's get some values and plug things in form is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Because the rise is talking about what's going up and down. It's talking about the change in the y value between your coordinates. And then run is talking about moving left to right, hence the difference between the x coordinates. So let's go ahead and walk this through with our points of -2, -3, and 1, -9. Now for each of these points, when we're seeing the x1 and the y1, the x2 and the y2, we're basically saying that we have 2 points. And we've got the x and y coordinates of the first. It's a comma. Haha, that looks like a funny comma. Comma, there we go. And then we've got our second point, which is x2, comma y2. So for this, I'm going to treat -2, -3 as my x1 and y1. And then I'm going to treat the 1, -9 as my x2 and my y2. Okay, so if I'm here, when cool, I've got slope formula. I'm going to plug these pieces in. Y2 is -9 minus y1, so that's minus -3. And then that's over x2, that's 1, minus x1, which in this case is -2. So it looks like this, -9 minus -3, and that's all over 1 minus -2. Now, of course, with a negative and a negative, it becomes a positive, so we're really looking at -9 plus 3 over, that becomes negative to a positive, over 1 plus 2, okay? Which means once we clean this up and simplify it, we're looking at -6 over 2, or no, over 2, goodness gracious, over 3, which gives us a slope of -2. So our slope is -2. So now that we know what our slope value is, huzzah, now we can go into the process of using the y equals mx plus b format right here to figure out the value of b. Okay, we've already figured out the value of m. Whoop, whoop. Now we need to go in. We can substitute the x and y coordinate values for one of our points. We don't need to do both. Just one of them is sufficient. And that will help us to find our b. Just a quick note, no matter which point you use, if you've done your work correctly and you have the correct slope, you figured out your slope correctly, regardless of which point you use, you will get the same y-intercept value. Okay, so there isn't some sort of magic trick of, ooh, I need to use the first point versus the second point. No need for all of that. Just simply choose one and run with it. Okay, so with that, that means our second step is to solve for B, so solve for that y-intercept using one coordinate point. Okay. So again, like we said, we have it in this form of y equals mx plus b. We already know what m is. We just figured that out, which is very exciting. And for the values of x and y, we're just going to choose one coordinate point to get that done. Okay. So for our coordinate point in this case, let's go ahead and use, we'll use x1, y1. It's right there. So we're going to use x1, y1, aka -2, -3. And we're going to use this to solve for b. Is there some sort of magic trick in terms of using one point over the other? Like I said, doesn't matter. You're welcome to do the same exercise with 1, -9. You may find it to be slightly easier, and you'll still get the same value for b. Okay, so here we're going to put in, instead of y, we're going to have that -3. And then we've got m, which we said was -2. And then the x-coordinate part is also -2. And then we add b. Okay, so we've got -3 equals -2 times -2 plus b. We just use the slope-intercept form formula, plugged in a point, and then use that to set this up. So now we solve for b. I'm going to switch colors here. So I've got -3. -2 times -2 is a +4. So we've got 4 plus b. And that equals -3. And now to get b by itself, because the whole point of this exercise is to solve for b, aka our y-intercept. And that means I'm just going to subtract 4 from both sides. And when I do, I get -7 for b. Okay, awesome. So now this means we can put together our slope-intercept form because we've got our slope of -2, and we have our y-intercept of -7. And in fact, it's just that simple to write. So we write y equals mx plus b. And in this case, we're going to replace that m with a -2. And then we're going to replace this b with a, sorry, little plus symbol, -7. And voila! That would be our answer. Okay, so this is a process that you go through when you are figuring out the equation of a line going through 2 points. The finding your slope is going to be the part that for some people is a little bit new, or it's a bit fuzzy because they haven't done it for a while. However, this is going to be your new bestest friend when it comes to finding the slope between two individuals or 2 points. Okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember it, enjoy it, embrace it. It will serve you well. Okay, and so we basically have 2 steps in this. We find the slope, we solve for the y-intercept, aka b, and then once we're done, we just plug it all in. Okay, so I'm going to put this as our third and final step. Just plug it in and turn it on. Okay, so there is that. Now, for your practice, so you can get a sense of how this process works, I have this problem for you to try. Okay, it says that a line passes through points 1, 1, and 2, 8. They want you to write its equation in slope-intercept form. Write your answer using integers, proper fractions, and improper fractions in simplest form. So I'd like for you to go back, take a look at how we walked through the example, or the previous example rather. Take a look at the steps we did, how they worked out, why we did it, and as you're reminding yourself of how to do that process, I like to see you do this one. So once you get it done, be sure to contact me. You can email me or you can message me, and I'll happily let you know how you did and cheer you on as you continue to study. Talk to you later. Bye.